I want to talk about love and attachment styles and relationships, specifically romantic relationships, um, because it's something that, like my circle, like we often like discuss as we, share our experiences. And this generation, like there's a lot of advice going around about romantic relationships, and this episode isn't really to give advice. It's more so to share my experiences, and that's really what this whole podcast is like. I come on here, I tell you my stories, tell you my experiences. I'll share some knowledge. You can take it if you want, leave it if you want. Like, it's up to you. If you're coming here just to be entertained, if you come in here, receive a word, you know, you allow God to speak to you, love that. But it's not a requirement. There's no fee at the door. Um, so yeah, this episode is really just about how I've been reflecting. I'm always reflecting, like like sometimes don't be so self-aware. Like sometimes actually stop reflecting and just turn the brain off. Like it's not every day self-aware. It's sometimes like just let it be, man. There's times where I literally tell myself like, you think too much, stop thinking and just do, or stop thinking and just feel. And that's my issue. Sometimes I can just be too logical for love. I can just be too analytical for life to just be as it is, because I don't know, there's so many classifications: type A, Enneagram 8, Enneagram 9, this, that. We're not going to get into no horoscopes here, please and thanks. But I bring it down to like attachment styles. I bring it down to some personality types, and things like that. But I'm a very, very logical, analytical, structured. I wouldn't even say like I'm not even the most disciplined person yet, but my mind mentally, how I work, how I make decisions, how I operate, how I interact with a lot of people is very much based on a logical pathway and organized logically, right? I do things that make the most sense. I need things to make sense. When I speak, I choose my words very carefully, which is one, helpful as a communicator and good being on this podcast, because I don't like people to leave interactions with me feeling confused or not. You can feel confused so long as I know that I didn't confuse you. Let me say that. So long as I know that how I communicated was exactly what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it, that's cool, because I can't control every interaction. But I really strive for clarity. I strive for being understood, making sure other people are understood. Like that's really important to me. So the way that I communicate is typically very logically. Like I don't always go down the path of emotion. Although I am also a very emotional person, and it's just this internal struggle where I know that naturally I'm very emotional. I don't know if I would say sensitive. Like I feel a lot and I experience a lot. I'm aware of a lot of emotions. But I wouldn't say sensitive because they don't always they're not always externalized. They don't always come forth or come through with how I present, but I feel them and I'm aware of them. And it's just like, okay, how do I stop thinking about my emotions and feeling and expressing my emotions? I feel like people like me, like we think about emotions all the time. We understand, and especially as a psychologist, like I understand and I think and I know and I can describe, I can explain, but to feel and to express, It's like, what's the best way we can do this? And you can't always determine the best way for emotions. Like you really can't be logical about emotions all the time. Because that's just how they are. They're meant to be felt, they're meant to be experienced, they're meant to be expressed. And not to say, like, it's a very fine balance. Like, you'll probably hear me go like I'm really juggling this. I'm really juggling, and I'm really just like thinking this whole thing through and talking my way through as I'm trying to make sense of it. And again, yeah, explore it for myself. But my pastor says, like, emotions are not meant to dictate life. They're meant to beautify life. They're meant to make life beautiful. They're meant to help our experiences and increase how we can understand each other and relate and just really, experience life to the fullest. But they're not meant to dictate how you walk through life and the decisions that you make entirely, because they are unpredictable and they are things like that. But I've just been really trying to bring myself more and find more of a balance from, yeah, as I said, being a person that just thinks about emotions and understands and can communicate. I can explain depression to you in a billion ways. I can explain joy to you. I can explain contentment to you. I can explain contempt to you. I can explain anxiety to you. Like, I can explain so many things. But to fully like sit with it and to fully allow it to just run free in the times where it needs to run free, that's a whole different ball game for me, because of how my mind works and because of how I've grown up and experienced certain things and been taught to be very logical and to be very analytical and to do things that make sense. And I fear that's how a lot of people are also taught in different ways. If you are a securely attached person, then you were most likely raised with guardians or caregivers that taught you a balance of, expressing your emotions and then learning how to navigate and regulate your emotions, learning how to experience the rainbow and not just black and white, not just, pure happiness and pure anger or sadness, not just a dichotomy of emotions, but getting to experience the range fully, and getting to balance them, not being afraid of emotions, learning how to be forgiving, learning how to communicate, how to draw close, how to be vulnerable, all those things, and not always having to explain your emotions. I grew up having to always explain my emotions, and that is such a frustrating thing. Now, as an adult, when I think about it, like, as a kid, what did I know? And even now, like, what do I know? Having to explain how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. Like, I can just imagine for, going through grief, having to explain what you're feeling, what that feels like. Like, yes, I can put some words to it. Yes, I can, maybe say, there's a mix of disappointment, but maybe there's also some relief, there's a mix of loneliness, confusion, anger, frustration. But for some reason I feel peace. It's just like, how can we be expected to explain these things and fully understand them before we allow ourselves to feel them and to allow, life to just kind of take us in these emotions, to take us where they need to at times. And it's really hard to, I won't say it's like completely foolproof to know when and how to do this, but not allowing yourself to do that at all until you fully understand what is going on is such a draining experience. And I find that it has really affected the way that I have navigated a lot of relationships, especially romantic relationships, because to me, I would be like, I would make a lot of decisions, and I still do. And I still stand by a lot of things that I've done. But it's just funny looking now, like, you were not even like, you were not even like conscious of how you were feeling. You're not even like, you were not, I don't know, you were just kind of thinking everything very logically, right? And because I'm an intuitive person, I'm always looking to understand the fine details, and like, okay, this happened, I felt this, what did this stem from? What did this come from? Da 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 da. Like, you want to go back and back and back, and it's just like, how far back can you really go? How much detail can you really get until you just accept that it is what it is? Like, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're experiencing. Like, striving to understand what is going on within you can be good, but it can also just be like an endless struggle and an endless battle where you end up not even allowing yourself to, and not accepting what you're going through and what you're experiencing, because it doesn't make sense to you yet. But it's just like, how can emotions make sense, and how can like something as powerful as love especially make sense? Love does not ever make sense. Like, if you've ever been in love, you know that it does not make sense. And if it makes sense, I would really question if you've been in love. If you can specifically say why you love somebody or why you love something, I'm not sure. Well, speaking of like agape love, there's obviously like eros love and all those other types of love, the passion, the intellectual love, all those things, whatever. But like, let's say unconditional agape love. If you've ever had that, or thought or believed that you had that with somebody, if you can explain why, then I would argue that that's not real. You can always explain why you like somebody and why you like, this relationship, whatever. But like love, it don't ever make sense, because life will give you 1,000,001 reasons to not love this person. The situation will give you 1,000,001 reasons to not love this person, yet it'll still be there, yet it'll still exist, right? We look at the example of our Lord and Savior. We give 1,000,001 reasons every single day, before we were even created, before we were even born, up until now, for him to not love us, yet he still does, right? While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And it's just like, it's such a, you put yourself at such a disadvantage if you try to rationalize and understand something like that, because it does not make sense. That does not make sense. That's like I don't even know how to put it in words. That's like a billionaire saying, okay, I'm going to put all my life's money into paying the bail or whatever for this prison. That anybody who comes into this prison, no matter the crime that they do, no matter, so long as they, repent, they repent and they, do this, they can be set free. The billionaire goes on, dies like long, and it's just like, you can't explain, you can't rationalize, intellectualize these things. And it makes it very hard to be expressive if you wait until understanding can come for love, for something as deep as love, for something as powerful as love. And so being an intellectual person, typically I found that it leads to like an avoidant attachment style, because you're so focused on understanding and doing things that are logical and rational. And because love is not logical or rational, you avoid, because your predisposition is to be very cautious of harm, and to be very cautious of failure, and to be very cautious of, anything that would hurt or disappoint you. So if I cannot understand something, I avoid what I cannot understand, because it could potentially lead to danger. And now you can never be in close relationships. You can never have or develop that intimacy. You won't allow the exploration of what love could be, right? Where on the other end, you have people that are like anxious, you have the disorganized attachment, but what we want is a secure attachment where it's just like love takes faith. And I've talked about this before. It takes a knowing and an understanding that one, I can't understand this. So, yes, there is risk there. But two, I can't understand how beautiful and powerful and, majestic this thing is. And so I choose to try, and I choose to have faith in love and have faith in this process. And I also choose to be forgiving, that if it does burn me, I can forgive and I can overcome that. I'm not going to now shut myself down, because for an avoidant person, somebody like past me, not me anymore. It's just like, okay, well, I know how extreme I can take this. That if I get burned, lock off everything, shut the whole club down, turn the lights off, pack up the DJ booth, everything, lock up. So it's just like, you would never go that far, because you know how deeply it can hurt you. And my argument is that, I feel like avoidant people are just very, very deep lovers, because we think so much. Let me not even say we, I don't identify with that anymore. But because, they think so much. Old me would be able to justify and say that avoidant people really do feel, and there's like a lot of love there, and there's a lot of desire, but the desire, it doesn't take you anywhere until you're able to actually act on that. But oh my, like, being in a relationship with people is just so frustrating when you try and understand and you try and go about things logically, because the way people will just do stupidness, and you will know that what they did was wrong. They will know that what they did was wrong. Yet you still have to find a way to love them. If you try to go off of what makes sense, that's not going to be possible. It's not going to be possible. Love, part of what, I believe Philippians that talks and explains what love is. It says that love is gentle. Love suffers long. And in that suffering long, it's understanding that you're like, you're going to suffer for long times, for long periods. Should not be forever. I pray it is not forever, but love is long suffering. It's waiting out, those seasons, those periods where it doesn't look like love. But there's a quote that I really enjoy and that I really hold on to as somebody that tries to be cautious with love, because you really can't. It says, of all forms of caution, caution in love is perhaps the most fatal to true happiness. And this is by Bertrand Russell. And it's just because, yeah, caution in love, it stunts how happy you can be, because you want to do A plus B should equal C. But in love, it's like A plus B over 2. Could all of this, can equal C. But if you're not willing to go through all of that, if you want to be straightforward, it's just never gonna be like that all the time, right? And so there has to come a time, and you have to come to a place where you can say, I don't understand this, and this doesn't make sense, but I can still believe it, and I can still put my faith in it, I can still trust it, and I'll still go with it, and if it does burn me, if it does do whatever it does, because it can, I'll be okay. I'll be all right. Like, life moves on and you can come back. But the idea that it has to be unidirectional, it has to go in a certain type of way, in a certain format, it will just not work. And it's stealing your happiness and stealing the experience that you can have. And so more and more, I really work through this, and especially like as I speak with my friends, there's some things that like we go through, because we can be pretty intense people. Sometimes we honestly look at each other and we're just like, I think we maybe need to like separate for like a week or like a month, and just like be around other people that aren't so intense, because I love all my friends, My friends that I've known for like years and my friends that like I've, met recently, they're all very ambitious, focused. They are go-getters. They are my type of people. My favorite type of people are the people that get stuff done. Give you an assignment, you get it done, no matter at all costs. But being that type of person can often lead you to overlook your emotions and your experiences because you're going to push through at all costs. And part of pushing through is making sense of what happened and trying to make sense of what you're experiencing and not allowing things to just be, not allowing grief to just be grief, not allowing happiness to just be happiness. Like we sometimes don't celebrate our successes or allow love in because it's just like, I shouldn't love this person. Like what they did to me, I shouldn't be able to love them. Or like this situation, I shouldn't be as happy for receiving this reward or this accolade or this achievement. I didn't work as hard. It's just like trying to make sense of these things is robbing us of the love and the joy, and the life that we should be experiencing more than we know. So my biggest thing that I'm putting on my what is it called? Let me say for the last quarter and following up into the multiple years on my what's that thing called? Dream board, not dream board. Wish list, not wish list. Vision board. I don't even make a physical vision board anymore, but my goals and vision board for the next year is that I want to express love more than I think about it. Because I think this falls under like the disorganized type. They dissociate a lot, and it's someone that's kind of is everywhere. A disorganized attachment style is someone that you dissociate a lot. You're kind of in and out, push and pull. You give very intensely, and then you withdraw very intensely, kind of all over the place. And they think a lot, kind of like avoidant people, think a lot about love, about situations, how they could be overthinkers. And it's just like you can be very in your mind and in la la land and envisioning all these things, but not actually being able to walk out and live out these things, right? And so even for avoidant people, as you're intellectual and analytical, you think a lot and you think through situations till they make sense. But it's just like, when will you stop thinking and start living? When you stop thinking about love and living in love and letting love live through you and expressing that. And as I thought about love, I just thought about all the types of love. And yes, we can look through Philippians and what that says. And that is foundational. But it's for me, I was just thinking about like, I've heard people describe love like the different elements. Some people ascribe it to being like fire and they say it's very intense, it's very passionate, it's uncontrollable. They say it's like even dangerous, at times. And it is those things. Some people say it's like water, it's refreshing, it's purifying. But it's also like overwhelming and it's very deep and it can be crushing. The ocean is just like, it's so beautiful, but it's so terrifying. And at the same time, love can be like air. It can be boundless, It's also vital, but then it's also it's also vanishing, right? Like it's also elusive. There's something about love being like air that it's just like you have it and then it can be gone. And then love can also be like the earth or like the ground, where it's foundational, it's sturdy, it's dependent, it's strong, it's life-giving, but then sometimes it can also be like rock solid and it feels almost suffocating. So it's like all of those things are what love is, but then it's just so much more. But if you try and put it in a box and describe it as specifically this, and this is how you should experience it, this is what it should look like, this is how I've understood it, and if it doesn't come to me in this package, I can't receive it, you miss out on so much things. And every time you hear me say you, I'm speaking to myself. This is how I talk to myself. And so more and more, As I said, like I just want to be able to express love more than I think about it, and to just not be so rigid with that and not be too logical for love. Oh my gosh, because there's times where I was not logical at all, so I don't know where along the road I picked that up. But yeah, I think definitely taking, like, because I take myself back to childhood a bit more, I found that there was a lot of times where I had to explain, like, why did you do this? I remember as a child, um, I don't come on here to blame my siblings. These are just experiences I have, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people, including them. When you do something or something happens and you're there and you're crying and you probably want to be comforted, like I probably just wanted to be like comforted and told like it's okay, and you have people in your face yelling at you, and so it's just like these little things, you don't realize how much they shape how you begin to perceive and understand the world and your other experiences. But like having someone um ask you in such a serious tone in that vulnerable moment, like, why are you crying? What's upsetting you? Da-da. And it's just like, at times I can answer that and I can explain that. And sometimes, like, I just don't know. Like, let me cry first. Let me just live it out. And then sometime down the road, maybe I'll figure out what it was. And it's just like not allowing myself to do that and not having the space to do that in my earlier years. Now I have to create that space to do that, to give that balance, because before it was just like, okay, no crying, no experiencing until you can explain. But now it's like bringing myself, okay, experience it, explain it, and to find the balance of the times where you need to just experience it and the times where, no, let's actually walk through what's going on here. So everything's about balance. If I ever talk about anything, maybe because the focus in that time just calls for me to really focus on that thing, but everything is about balance. And yeah, that's how we live healthy lives, and that's how we are more successful in relationships, I guess. Yeah.